Hey everyone, what's up? How's it going? Hope you're all doing well. The world is extremely fucked, but what can we do but make the most of it? You know? And that's all I can really say because I am no expert. So don't come to the DIY music man about how to live your life. I'm no role model, okay? I just hope you're making the most of things. A lot of things suck ass right now. But thank you for tuning into this podcast. Today I have some special guests, and today is a special day because we have a new release coming out on Friday the 27th, which is tomorrow, and I'm very excited about it. It's an EP from Chicago happy, heavy math rock band Snooze. Snooze is sort of more of a recording project right now. You know, there's no shows happening anyway, but their bassist Cam had passed away a couple months ago. It sucks badly. It sucks ass. So Cam had played on one song on this album. Logan had written and recorded most of these songs with help of session drummer Anup Sastry. So I got to speak to Anup, a session drummer who I've been a fan of for a while, and Logan, the songwriter and guitarist and vocalist on this EP, which is called Still by the band Snooze. So I'd like to dedicate this episode to Cam. We love you and we miss you. The EP Still is also dedicated to Cam. It's in memory of him. Fucking rock on. And check the pod out. I hope you like it. We get into some cool stuff about the recording process. We talked to Anup about being a session musician and, you know, the comparisons between DIY and playing more legitimate gigs. It was a really interesting chat. We talked about social media a bit too. You can't avoid it, right? Okay. Thanks everyone. Enjoy. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I got some really special guests today, and it's a special week. I'm excited for this week because an album is about to be born into the world. Still by Snooze is out Friday the 27th. I'm very excited for everyone to hear it because it's a fantastic album. And today with me, I have the two people that were a very big part of the album, Logan and Anup. What's up, fellas?
Hello.
Yeah, thanks for joining. So it's an EP, but there's a lot of music stuff going on, and I think it still feels like it's dense in a good way. Like I think a lot of people who are fans of the band or hearing you for the first time will still be able to get a lot out of it.
Yeah. Like I remember because like when I first recorded when we first did fucking Actually Extremely. Oh yeah, can I swear?
Yeah. Fuck shit. Fuck yeah.
Fuck shit. When we first did Actually Extremely, it was only like 24 minutes, but I was like, God, this was such pain in the fucking ass. And same with Familiaris, it was like kind of short for like a full length. And like this is kind of the same vein, but like at least a couple of the songs are a little on the longer side. But yeah, there's some music happening.
The dynamics of it all, though, and I had written the other day when I posted about Toilet that was streaming, but like the peaks and valleys of like the dynamics and everything, like how well it's pulled off, it really makes for a nice listen, you know. So what made? Because Logan, you primarily wrote all these songs.
Yeah.
Snooze is in an interesting place as a band right now.
Yeah, interesting is a good word. Yeah, it's there's basically no members except for me right now, but I've been jamming with a couple people, and then I initially only hit up Anup just to like kind of record it, and I was gonna play the drums, and in retrospect, I'm like,
we had this whole plan. There was like a whole plan for it and everything.
yeah. I was gonna drive out to Maryland and play drums and record everything with Anup. And then, you know, COVID happened, and then it was just like, it was kind of stupid. Well, more so the original reason was I can't play these drums at all. And then he was just like, I can do like kind of session drums for them. And I was like, that should have been the plan though.
Yeah, especially if you're like a non-experienced drummer, and like Anup, your parts are like so monstrous on this EP, like so sick. So,
well, I mean, Logan wrote a lot of that already, so it was just taking his drum parts and making them like more me, if anything. But at the end of the day, it was still his music, you know? So it was like, I wasn't changing stuff. I don't think I changed stuff too drastically. Did I, Logan?
Yeah, there was like some, there was a couple, basically the only parts that I was like, for sure, like take this part completely over that is like kind of hard to program is like kind of softer parts with lots of little like subtle like ghost notes and like, I don't know, like it's just kind of a pain in the ass to get like that human thing in like the program. But like most of the other like I call them like concrete parts, like breakdowns and fucking stuff that's supposed to be like syncopated with like bass and like guitar hits and stuff. Like I had those pre like programmed and stuff, but lots of it Anup basically threw in things that I would kind of never think to do, like just like interesting like cymbal work and like hits here and there and just like his fills and yeah.
So what do you write in?
It's kind of a funny workflow, and it kind of fucked us up at the beginning because I like kind of the UI of FL Studio for like programming the drums, but like you can't like put different time signatures in there at all. So what I did was I have it at kind of like the lowest common denominator of like one beat, and here is the fastest any beat will ever go. So the click is just like fucking, you know, going crazy.
But then you get all the subdivisions. So
yeah,
it's
exactly.
like, yeah.
So if you have like a measure that is like, you know, or you cut off like an eighth note of a measure that's, you know, counted in like quarter notes or something, like you won't get the click won't get off, but sometimes it kind of did. Like, so I had to kind of like jostle some of that stuff around. But yeah, so I use like a pirated version of Superior Drummer. And then I just kind of bounce. I had like the MIDI tracks, and I sent to Anup, and then I just bounce it kind of as audio, also. But he just kind of fucking. It took him like it was so quick. Like he was like done like instantly. It was awesome.
It was pretty painless. I feel like I don't think there was really, the biggest thing was just coordinating. Like there was a point where I felt kind of bad because I was like, oh, I hope I didn't step on your toes by just being like, hey, you should just let me drum. Like, but no. I was just trying to be like very efficient about it, you know, and trying to get Logan to Maryland for the entire process. And, you know, like, I don't know, there was just so much logistics involved with something like that. So, and it's 2020, you know, like technology these days, sending files back and forth is pretty seamless. So,
oh yeah, and the rest, like the vocals and the guitar, I just like recorded myself. It's like crazy because I've done it before, but they're always terrible. So like I mostly just sent like I have like a little bad amp sim thing, and then I just sent the raw files to Anup, which he like reamped and stuff, and they sound fucking like huge. Yeah.
I actually used your amp sounds too, though.
Well, yeah, we blended.
Like, everything you sent was great. Everything was great. It was super easy. We like worked on it in chunks too. You know, it was like, let's do the drums, and then once Logan signs off on that, then we move on. And then there was like an entire period where it was like you took like several weeks to do just drum or guitars and bass. And then I like edited that, and then we kind of settled on, you know, that stage. And then you were like, all right, now I'm going to produce. All right, now I'm going to do vocals. So it was really organized and just very simple and like not stressful at all. So
that's awesome. Yeah, Anup, you do a lot of session work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure you've had some gigs that weren't as streamlined and were like a little harder to manage then.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I'm pretty picky when it comes to this kind of stuff with just how I try and take someone else's stuff and just integrate it into my workflow as much as possible. Ideally, it would 100% be my workflow, but I also understand that people are using different, you know, DAWs, different whatever means of tracking and so on and so forth. So I'm just trying to find like the like least path of resistance. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Path of least resistance, excuse me. So like whatever that might be between Logan and I, that's like what I was going to go for, so that he, you know, both of us could just focus on the fun stuff as much as possible.
Yeah,
And it worked out.
totally. I mean, the fact that you two weren't in the same room ever, like while working on this EP, and it came out how we did.
Met him in person. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
it's
is even
pretty
crazier
sick.
because where in Chicago are you, Logan?
I'm in Lakeview right now, so I'm like 2 blocks from the lake, so it's like like right above Lincoln Park. So
Okay,
there's
yeah.
Lincoln Park here, and then I'm
Great
like,
band.
Well,
Yeah.
what's so weird is I heard about you and, you know, Snooze, the entire band, as through my wife.
Yeah.
She lived in Chicago for what, 5 years, 4 or 5 years, something like that. And I would always go there and like be in Chicago, like, you know, once a month, once every 2 months, something like that. And it's just weird that we never met.
yeah, it's wild because initially I asked because, you know, I knew that you guys moved in together, I think out in Maryland. And I was like, I was just like, hey, how much is like, you know, or well, it wasn't really that, but I was like, you know, how can I get in contact with Anup just to like record, you know, because the original plan, yeah, I said already, but the original plan was just to like record it. And I like, because I've been listening to your own releases for your own music for like a while, and I was just like, this is like the sound, you know, it's like the modern, just fucking huge sound. Yeah.
I was actually kind of surprised you hit me up. It's weird. Like I listened to your previous releases and I was like, oh, this is cool, because it's like a complete change of pace from what I'm used to working on, you know?
Yeah.
So to get like a project like that for me, I was like, whoa, this is going to be sick. You know, like I want that as much as possible. But like when I heard your past material, I was like, why does he want me?
See, the thing is, like, even with those, like, you know, our old engineer Jarrett, like, you know, he comes from, everything was analog. Like, we did have like a couple like DI tracks that we like, you know, had out when we were like recording and stuff, but everything was live and stuff like that. And, you know, it sounds cool. And it's not really so much that the difference was that it was live versus, you know, like having everything in like amp sims and like stuff like that. But even since the very first album, I've always wanted like the very like modern sounding stuff, like very just, you know. So even though it was like, it kind of sounded a little bit different sonically, like it was like that was always kind of the plan, you know, even when we were like more kind of on the emo side and like more noodly math rock instead of like kind of like the chuggy stuff. I always kind of wanted this, like this record is like, you know, this is how I would prefer to sound basically, you know, forever.
Well, I remember, Logan, you were talking to me a while ago about the direction you were taking the music of Snooze, and you wanted something that would translate well a little bit more live also, right?
Yeah, so like the other, like for Familiaris and for actually Extremely, like lots of the orchestration and instrumentation was like very like maximalist. Like I would put in things that I would never in a million years like be able to pull off live. And there's only a couple parts in this record where it would take like a couple more people on stage to do it, but mostly the vocals. Like mostly the vocals I wrote for, like we had a vocalist in the band for like, you know, the past 2 records, but like I wrote it initially having a vocalist. Like the vocals were written independent of the guitar parts, so like I never thought of like me having to do the vocals at the same time. And it's like, you know, it's like some parts are fine, but sometimes the rhythmic contour is like, you know, it's like, it's really hard to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Even when you can get it, like the syncopation of it down, like just the brain work it is, sometimes you'll like go sharp without realizing it and stuff. Like it's hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this one, like the vocals were more, every time I was writing the vocals, I would be playing the guitar at the same time. So I'd be making sure that I can do it.
Yeah.
But, you know, we kind of went a little, I was trying to go like more shoegazy with the vocals to kind of like make it more of like an instrument instead of like in the last couple records, it was very much like, you know, these are words and stuff, but these are a little bit more like kind of drawn out and like, Yeah, just kind of more of like just another layer instead of just like being very forward. Yeah, yeah.
It accentuates the music though. Like you said, you wrote it on guitar, so it's still like kind of it makes sense with it. It's less like I don't know catchy melody, like I don't know what you would call it, but it's still awesome, and like I think it leaves more breathing room for like the atmospheric parts and like the like lower parts and everything. And like Anup, all your cymbal work is like very nice and like tasteful. Like it really helps highlight everything.
Oh yeah.
So. Do you guys want to listen to one of the tracks and like we can like talk about it as it's going?
Sure.
What's your pick? Should we go in order? We can kind of like listen to all of them throughout.
Sure.
All right, let's start with track 1.
Sure.
Toilet.
Yeah, Toilet. It's
origin story. Yeah.
Yeah. It was funny in Fecking Bahamas. Their little thing. I forget how you pronounce the SIC thing.
Yeah.
Like when you're writing something, it's just like this is spelled wrong correctly, like or whatever. But like it was it's just an inside joke that me and Cameron and like all of our friends had, where it was this like Tumblr back in the day that, or maybe it was Twitter, who knows, but the this guy moderated a website that is like jokes submitted by kids, and all the punchlines and all the jokes were written by little kids, and like some of them were so like bad and funny. And this one was like, what is the secret ingredient of a toilet? And the punchline was just poo. So I was like, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But usually I have like, for all like the demos and stuff like that, it's like I always just think of a random word like bingle, or like I don't know, like Chesapeake was initially named Bing Ding, like because I just type some random shit. And when I'm saving it, I'm like, I don't know what to save this as because none of the vocals are written yet.
Yeah.
So that one was Toilet. So
Nice.
because just yeah.
Word. Let's take a listen.
Okay.
Just give me a thumbs up if like the volume's good. I think it should be okay. Cool. Definitely sets the tone of the EP. Like,
yeah, I was really excited to release this one. This is like my favorite track probably out of them. There's like a shitload going on, and like you said, like the juxtaposition and like valleys of it are like very cool.
did you play bass on this, Logan?
So this is the only one that Cameron actually got recorded, like before he got too sick and stuff. Because this one and Chesapeake are the only songs that we had in the set. So we had both of these when we were still playing shows and stuff, and we actually had this song in the set for almost a year. Yeah, Cameron played bass for this one, but we only had one day that he came in to like record it. We were gonna do more, but he just like kind of went home or whatever. But yeah, this is the only one that Cameron played bass on. There's a couple parts where I like that. That originally that part was totally different, but when we got Anup's drum track back, I changed the part to kind of fit more of his he does like kind of triplets, like and then I kind of changed the bass part to kind of go with that a little bit, because it was originally, I also changed the guitar parts to kind of like mimic what he was doing more, But yeah, that's pretty much the only part that I played bass on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love his part at the very end. It's like, it's such a Cameron part. Because I write bass very like not a bass, you know, somebody that has not played bass that much. You know, it's very just like root note and like some counterpoint a little bit, but like it's, you know, Cameron played the bass more, so he had to actually have fun. So his parts were fun, and mine are just like kind of just, here's what the guitar is doing but lower.
Yeah. I mean, there's too many guitarists pretending to play bass and not enough actual bassists in general.
It's like Dillinger meets Incubus meets like a jazz band or something.
Yeah, this part I was channeling a little bit of that kind of. There's this one song. I can't. If anyone listening knows what track it is, but there's this like old Zappa track that I heard like once at my friend's house that I can't get out of my head. But I've tried to like find it, but I don't know what it is. But it's basically like it's a big chorus of people all doing this really fast syncopated like verse, like they're like they're all singing the same thing, and I was just like, that's cool, but I don't know what it is. But yeah, I was trying to do something like that.
You're pulling influences from a lot of different places to write stuff like this in general.
Yeah, it was like empty kind of stuff at the beginning, and then this is kind of like, every time I do something soft, it's similar to kind of this, you know, kind of just like jammed parts. But you just pull one beat off of it, and then it's sort of mathy. You know, this would be
the turnaround at the end. Yeah.
I love that little thing, because then you can just kind of switch. You know, you're swaying, and then you can do a little stop.
Yeah.
It's always fun. It keeps it somewhat mathy without being too hard.
Yeah. You know, you don't want people to. I mean, it depends what people are coming to the music for. I think there is a slower burn in general for this album, and the payoffs are great. It's you know, very, very well orchestrated, where it doesn't feel like you're just like, oh, it's in 7 or 11, like, you know.
Yeah. I feel like I used to kind of be very like, you know, like this part's got to be like crazy, or like this is a crazy part, or like this part's supposed to be like super nuts or whatever. But I just, you know, it's just fucking hard to play. It's just hard to play all that all the time. And I'm just like, I don't want to do that anymore. It's like doing even doing some of the old songs live, I'm just like, why did I do this? Why did I do this to myself? So this, you know, that's basically how I get, okay, this is somewhat mathy. This is enough. So I'm like, you know,
yeah,
cut off a beat here and there. That's fine.
When it calls for it, you know, it's not just to force it. I swear there was a math rock band once who had a song that was like the chorus was, now I know how to count to 11, and the song was in 11, and it pissed me off so much. That's so bad,
dude. That's like, you know, I love our little scene, but it's also like, damn, I'm like, I got this email once that was, well, it wasn't an email, it was a Facebook message where it was obviously kind of trying to bait me or something, and it was just like, hey, I was wondering if you guys have any songs where you have not edited the drums and not edited the vocals, like trying to just be like, you guys edited this. I don't know. It's just like, it's a weird, like, kind of metal has it too, where it's like kind of, I won't say gatekeepery, but it kind of is. But it's like one of those where it's just like, oh, you guys aren't doing I mean, obviously this isn't every math rock fan, but it's just like, oh, you guys this is simple and stuff. And I don't know.
It becomes a little technical. There's a technical aspect of the music, so then some fans will really get into it.
Yeah.
I mean, Anup, you play a lot of metal music, right?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, a lot of the time signature changes on this EP were a little bit against the grain for me. It's definitely not something that I do on a regular basis. So actually, I remember Logan and I discussing a few points where I tried to straighten out the drums. Like I would try and do like a tension release, right? So like I would give Logan what he wanted at first, and then I'd be like, but this is what I want to do. You know what I mean? Right here, just simple, right? And then I remember Logan on a couple of things would come back and be like, nah, it needs to be, back to what I had. And listening back to it now, I'm glad that happened because I understand it. You know what I mean? Like in the moment, I didn't want to understand it, but like then listening to the final, release, it was like, okay, yeah, I get it. That's actually really sick. So doing a lot of this stuff, was actually really against the grain for me. And even like the editing thing, that's kind of an interesting comment you said there, Logan, because like to me, editing something is not bad. It's actually good.
Yeah.
Like I want to edit things. I want to make sure that for a release, everything is nice and glued together and, translates properly because you spend a lot of time writing the material. You should make sure that it's delivered the best it can be as well, right? So
yeah, like I have a similar viewpoint. Like I'm like, like this is most likely the thing that people will listen to more than seeing it live. Like they both have their place, and the humanness of hearing something live is amazing. And then like, it's why these live streams, like for like live stream concerts are just not as good. And like, they don't hit the same. Like Adam Neely has this thing that he says all the time. He's just like, I miss musicking because it's like a different experience, like having it live and stuff. So I get when people are like, hey, do you have anything that's like totally raw and like any of that stuff? But it's like, this is how in my brain I wanted exactly the thing to come out. So it's like, I don't know.
I also feel like getting on a stage is where you can deliver that feeling. It's like that's the point for me to go up and play live is like I want to do that in the moment, and that
because then it's even crazier if you can do it live like well.
Yeah, exactly. That's also what sucks about like writing difficult things now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I never. I'm just gonna write pop music now.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Put a backbeat over it. I do like the idea, and this has been one of my favorite things since like listening to like metalcore as a kid, but like genting or chugging in like 9 or like dan 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 dan, and like the offbeat snare hits are like just like really good stuff, Yeah,
that part in particular, I think that was one of the times that kind of Anup was referencing before. I had, basically once that thing comes in where it's like the guitar alone, where it's like, da, 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 and then it comes when the fill, or not the fill, but the very first rotation. So that thing is in 11/4, and I kind of feel bad because I told one of our old drummers that it was in 4/4, and I was like, it's in 4/4, don't worry about it. But like, it's actually in 11/4, but it feels like it's in 4/4 because of the, you
could headbang to it still.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It rocks. Yeah.
And if you headbang just to the China, like it feels like it's in 4 because it's like you're never going off, but the compound rhythm or polyrhythm or whatever, it makes it go and like it repeats in like 11/4, so whatever. But yeah, the first rotation of that, I had something programmed that is kind of just wonky, but I thought it sounded good. And then
are you talking about how it goes into that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I remember I totally botched that when I sent you the first draft of drums. I think I just totally botched it because I was like, is that a mistake? And you were like, no, man.
Well, that one, it's only because I only wanted it to kind of be like that to make like the rest of it sound, like the first going into it, I wanted it to sound like like kind of crazy, but then once you settle into the second, third, and fourth time you hear it, like, and once the you know, because that'll be that I knew was going to be like really solid and like very breakdowny and stuff, and like very like you know, yeah, very just concrete and stuff. Yeah, the first one I want it, but literally the next time you sent it over, it was like perfect to the MIDI thing. Like, you know, it was one of those where I was like, yeah, I like how weird and terrible this sounds.
I actually, a couple of things. It's weird. It's like working on these kinds of projects for me, again, because it's so outside of what I'm so used to doing. It opens up my perspective even more because, you know, I also try and write music myself. So like having worked on something like this, it like makes me think a little bit more next time I go and sit down and write. Right. So there's that. And then one thing I wanted to say about your vocals before I forget, there was a huge, I don't even know if you listened to Devin Townsend.
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. For whatever reason, man, I remember when you were sending me the vocals at first, I got like this, like Devin Townsend vibe almost. Like the vocals were just like this wall of sound in certain areas.
Uh-huh.
You know, and like very much trying to just almost like a big wave that's overcoming of just vocals, you know?
Yeah. I feel bad for you for having to mix that and set it in the, because there's like, sometimes there's like 8 fucking things going on, especially with the production elements, like the strings and the piano and stuff. I was just like, I do not envy you. But then like lots of the things that we kind of came back and like did revisions and stuff was just like, yeah, it sounds great. Like it's where it's sitting in the mix. Sounds great. Just like, you know, boost this, like take this down. It was never really like, cause I don't really know anything about like EQ. Like I'm like terrible. I don't really know anything about setting things in the mix and like mixing things properly. And I'm just like, here you go. It might be a huge amount in like one little like frequency range and stuff. So I just kind of just like, I'm just like,
I think that's where that workflow thing comes in that I was saying before, you know, like you had all these elements, but at no point when you were delivering tracks was I like overwhelmed, because the whole idea was like, all right, well, let me just do a pass with how I think it should translate. Then past that, when I send you mixes, it was one of those things where it was like, tear it apart, man, you know, and just give me the revisions, what needs to be lower, louder, whatever it is, right? And we just like pieced together each mix as we went. And to me, that's super helpful because it's not like an ego thing where like if you tell me that like the keys are too soft, I'm going to be like, blah, blah, blah.
I slaved over these keys.
Yeah, you know, like for me, I'm already in that mode where it's just like, well, this has to translate how you intended, right? So if the keys need to be louder, they need to, unless it's something that like,
you
right?
You offered your opinion a couple times where you're just like, I think it should probably be like this, and I was like, yeah. There was a lot of times where I was just like, yeah, that's the move, you know.
Yeah. So it was a pretty good workflow, you know. It was just a very easy, just, you know, it was pretty easy. It's crazy, and there's a lot on these songs too. So
yeah, the extra, I mean, like you have like some saxophone going. There's some synths too, and like, you know, the atmospheric interlude and all that. Is that all like kind of, well, nothing's tabbed out, but how do all those ideas come to mind? Just like you're hearing a riff and you're like, oh, that'd be sick, and you just think about like a line.
For most of there's a couple parts that were solid, like some of the piano parts, especially when they're like by themselves, those were written ahead of time, but everything else was like more like, all right, and this is where it like helped to do like me and Anup's like workflow where we had guitars done and drums done. So, you know, guitars and bass were like done, and that's like probably 90% of like the sound that's hitting you. So sometimes I was like, okay, like we could use more like something, you know. It wasn't so much like, oh, I need more like high end. It was more just like you know,
can go here to accentuate and make the music more exciting.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but yeah, you know, there was a couple of them, like the in Chesapeake, like the, that was written beforehand. And like there's a couple other parts that were in there before, but most of all the production elements and stuff like that were all like, just like, oh, this part needs some more something.
Yeah.
But in terms of the interlude with the Cameron voicemail thing, that was like all, I knew I wanted to do something with that voicemail that he sent to my, it was a drunk dial he sent to my little sister. And, and he was just fucked up taking shit. And like, I have, the Infinite Jets, that pedal from Hologram. And, there's, these things that you can, I don't really know it that well, but there's like this user setting where, you can set the oscillator like that, and I like pre-recorded that, and I was basically just holding chords. And then I also used, what's that thing called? That reverb thing that Anup, you told me about, yeah. The one with the crazy like string kind of thing where it goes an octave up and octave down and stuff. And I was just like, this sounds pretty cool. So I just kind of did a thing, and I knew it basically with all those transitions and all the ones on the other albums and stuff. I just know that I have to get into the key of the next song. So I'm just like, I'm just going to put it in, like, I think it was B, or it's like B flat minor or something, or like F, or I don't remember what key it's in, because I know Feels Bad is an A. So I was just like, this has to be an A, but yeah. It's mostly, there's only a couple parts where it was like pre-written out for like those little production elements and stuff.
Right on. And like, speaking to the mix, like Anup, I think you did like an awesome job, because everything has its place. Yeah. It never feels like a shouting match where it's like, or like I've heard records where like something comes in and everyone else ducks out from all the compression and stuff. Yeah. So it's really clean.
Oh, thank you.
Do you have a lot of experience? Like, well, I know you mix your own drums and like do session work, right? But do you often like produce or mix albums as well?
Yeah, I've done a few things, nothing like too crazy, but it's definitely work that I take on. This one was actually a lot more difficult because it's weird. My drum sound is always so geared to like super, super heavy hitting metal, and for this EP, I wanted to like fix that and mix for the music and not necessarily for what I do. And I still don't think I nailed that, but I was so happy with how it turned out. If I were to do it again, there's so many things I would obviously change, right? But I'm always like that, listen to an old mix and I'm like, I already hear so many things I would do better.
Yeah.
One of the
biggest growing as an artist, though, it's always being critical and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, this EP was like, it was a challenge, but also very easy at the same time. It's weird.
Yeah, there was this point where Anup said, this is kind of representative of kind of how he likes to sit production elements in the mix and stuff. And he said that like basically he would listen to it until, well, he would have them up just enough so that when they're gone, like he missed them kind of, or like he said something like that, like with like like some of the string parts or something where, it wouldn't be too forward, exactly like you were saying, like it doesn't crowd anything. So, but it comes right up to that point where if you were to take it away, you would be like, oh, where'd that thing go?
I mean, there was also a lot of like, if I pull up one of the sessions, there's just like automation lines everywhere. You know what I mean? Because for something so dynamic like this EP, every song is just a wave, right? It's literally just a constant wave of ups and downs. So you're like mixing for the overall sound. Sure, there's basic elements that you have to get on lock, like your drums, bass, and rhythm guitars, which is usually where I start with. But then past that, you're pretty much mixing each song individually, and then even more so mixing each section individually, Yeah. So it was like I would spend like a full day on just like one song and be like, all right, I'm just going to do nothing but emotionally and mentally invest myself in this one song today, you know? Mm-hmm. And I personally like that because you get a little bit more into the music that way and it's not so mechanical.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to, I'd imagine just getting some ear fatigue after hearing, because, you know, I record demos in GarageBand. I'm no engineer by any means, but even after like 3 hours, I'm like, I start to go in circles a little bit and I have to like pull back. So
yeah, I'm just like, I can't listen to this anymore.
Well, I mean, surprisingly, it's kind of interesting because that has happened to me in the past, but it's if there's a lot of grunt work to get to that point. And what I mean by that is I've definitely worked with bands where I've had to do an insane amount of editing just to get it to a point where I can mix it, you know? Mm-hmm. And there was nothing like that with this EP, you know? And on top of that, the songs were also, I liked them, you know, like they were songs I wanted to listen to. And even more so, I got like new monitors and stuff like just about a year before, and that helped with not having fatigue. You know, there was just a whole bunch of things. So, I mean, I was mixing probably like, I think each song, at least once, there was a good like 6 to 8 hour portion of time out of a day where that was it. And that's not even counting like, you know, doing anything after that point, right? Mm-hmm. But it was easy to do. It was like easy to just sit there and work on a song for 8 hours. So
I think it's great that it seems like you guys just kind of clicked, like with what, like on similar wavelengths, and like we're able to work together, you know?
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Dude, it's like, you know, I like, it was mostly just like, I feel like I'm like a little scatterbrained when it comes to like a lot of this stuff, but like Anup was just, you know, you're just like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. And then you can give me notes on this or whatever. It was very like professional, and I know that's kind of like a kind of whatever word, but it's like it was very like, you know, we just fucking banged it out. It was good.
Dude, banged.
Yeah, bang.
Yeah. The vinyl sounds awesome too. I can send you guys both copies if you want. You know,
you can send us those the problematic ones.
Oh fuck. Yeah, if you want them. Oh man.
Oh, that'd be cool to get a physical of this.
Yeah, analog.
Yeah.
I don't even have a vinyl player. But.
Oh, dude. You know, it's funny because I put out records for bands, and there was like 2 years where my record player didn't work, and I kind of like got out of buying things in general. I was like, you know, buying shit is stupid. I just want to like play music. And then like I just fixed it recently, and my favorite thing to do now is pack orders and put a record on, because there's something about putting it on and it's just on. It's not like, you know, with your phone, it's like short attention span. It's like, I want to hear track 6, so I'm bored. But you have to listen to it as one installment of art, and then you flip it, and then so it's nice in that respect.
Yeah, and then once you're like, oh, there's no music. Oh, I have to do something. You have to actually have like an actionable thing. You know, you have to get up and flip it or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been packing your pre-orders all weekend, so it's been going through a bunch of vinyl doing it. So it's pretty nice.
Hell yeah, baby.
Yeah. Yo, so Anup, we crossed paths. This was maybe like 8 years ago, and you played in a band called the Lost Tourists.
Whoa!
And I remember because my roommate now has like a poster of you guys still. And we played a house show together in Illinois, in Normal, Illinois, and it was in the kitchen of like the
kitchen
punkest house ever.
Oh man, dude, that was one of the. I like tell so many people about that night.
Yeah, it was wild.
I slept in my Ford Explorer too, outside of the house that night. We played in the kitchen. We just like partied, and then I just fell asleep in my Ford Explorer.
I was on tour with it's a band I still play in now, but it was like a metal ska type sounding band, and I remember we drove, I don't know how many hours, but I just went into a random bedroom of this house and just slept like for like 5 hours. Like we pulled up like 10 in the morning, took a nap. There were flies everywhere. It was a wild house.
Yeah, I remember too. I had a really nice blue drum rug that I had like drawn out where my stands and everything go. And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, that's going to make it easy whenever I pull up to shows and stuff and like venues before the tour, obviously. And then we pull up to like kitchens and stuff. Doesn't matter. Point being is that at that night, someone spilled a shit ton of beer on that carpet, and like it just stained like an entire quarter of it. And it was hilarious because I had that carpet. I took that on tour like even after that for like the next 5 years probably. And every single time I would look at that stain, I would just always remember the kitchen.
Yeah, Logan, it was like a super tight, like we literally played in the kitchen of like a college house. And,
Yeah.
The band I was in was on tour with another band, and we were like good friends. So like they were like banging pots and pans during our set and stuff. And then, we saw your band, Anup, and I remember you were fucking awesome then. And you were taking lessons with Travis Orbit at the time, and that always stuck to me because like that was one of my favorite drummers at that point. Like
interesting.
Sky Eats Airplane and all that stuff. So yeah.
I miss those days. I really do miss those days of like that whole DIY thing, like with that band, we went on 2 like US things, and it was like, there was no contracts for like a guarantee that night or nothing. It was like, no, you're going to play a kitchen, and if you're lucky, you can sleep in the kitchen later.
Yeah.
And I remember, because I'm totally like not like this, dude. I'm 100%. I get into some diva mode if I don't get a shower, and like, I won't lie. I have like my needs and necessities or whatever, right? So the rest of that band just didn't give a fuck, and they would go camping and stuff, and I would always hate it and be like, I want to be in the wilderness right now, like I want to be in a hotel. What the hell? And looking back on it, I'm so like happy for those experiences.
Yeah, you learn how to rough it, and then once you, because you played more professionally like after that, right? Like you had some pretty like solid metal gigs.
Yeah, well, I mean, the tours all after that were, they were, I'm going to use the term legitimate, but there was nothing illegitimate about what we did with the Lost Tours either. You know what I mean? So they were just, everything was on a contract, and there was actual venues, and there was money and all this stuff, right? So
yeah, you learn how to rough it, and then like everything else is like no sweat.
I know, man.
Everything else, you're just like, this is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah. No, it's awesome. That band was sick. I remember just being like blown away. So it's cool stuff.
I apologize. I don't really remember much of that night except for the kitchen.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, it was a rager night. It was a lot of fun.
Man, that's so sick. I was literally not expecting you to say that at all.
Yeah, no, it was a long time ago. Yeah, because then like someone posted one of your videos like on my Facebook wall like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I was like, fuck, I played a show with this guy, and that was maybe like 2011 or 2012.
In a kitchen, dude.
Yeah, in a kitchen. Oh shit. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to have seen you like get more gigs and still like play sick music and do all this cool stuff. Are you playing with any bands actively now?
No, just all session work and just hired gun stuff. So I have another, I guess a project. I have 2 projects that I started, but one of them is just kind of like a for fun recording thing, and the other one is with some ex band members from an older group that I was in. And I don't know if we're going to tour or do anything. I don't really know what we're doing, but we're trying to finish up an EP and start with that. So pandemic has just like changed everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
no one's going to tour for a while.
yeah. Hey, I don't know if you guys saw, but like just in the past 2 or 3 days, there was like all these big tours that just, canceled for 2021. And we're talking like October and November 2021 getting canceled already, So sad.
Yeah, it's definitely sad. It's been interesting trying to, because I play in bands, and luckily like they're all recording like all these projects within the year, so I've been busy with that. Logan, I've just because for Invalids, it's all in Tablet still.
Yeah.
So I have like a Lenovo laptop set up, and I'm just blasting Tablet, just like learning all that shit.
Yeah.
It's, like computer on it, like TV on in the background, but
Yeah.
it's been interesting.
Those are probably fucking insanely hard to. I would have to go through that a million times.
Well, dude, what I wanted to mention before, because we were talking about like, we were clowning on math rock fans a little bit, but people would come up to me after shows like, how do you count those time signatures? And I just go, dude, I don't. I'm not going 1, 2, 3, 7, 8. I'm just fucking playing. You know, you think of it as like phrases. Like sometimes I'll think like, oh, it's almost 4, and then there's like a catch or something like at the end.
Yeah.
You know, no one's doing that much math in their head. I feel like if you want it to sound natural.
Yeah, you just have to have it just like as a continuous stream of events. Pretty much, it's just like, okay, this one's shorter. This one kind of sounds like this. Like the first actually mathy thing I've done in a while was that thing that Tyler Perkins, you know.
Yeah, that you played drums like for that 2 years ago, and I kept bugging Tyler like, dude, when are you gonna put these songs out? I'm so glad you're playing on it. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, but that was like one of those things where like I was like, damn, I'm like, fuck, I don't write mathy music anymore. I'm like, this is hard.
I honestly don't get how that stuff is written. It like blows my mind. I just don't. I literally don't get it, and it's weird too because I used to be in bands that would write mathy stuff. Like Lost Tours, for example, we used to have moments of that, you know, and like at some point it just went completely out the window, you know, and I like never looked back at like trying to do mathy stuff. Everyone thinks that like progressive metal too is like super math, but it's like, it's not. It's usually just in 4/4. There's just like a complicated pattern underneath of it, you know?
Yeah, lots of the time they do like interesting like chord progressions and stuff, and more. Like I feel like the older you get, the more like the less people are doing like, okay, the rhythm is the interesting thing, which is like kind of what math rock is, and like more progressive like stuff. The more you get into like, you know, okay, we're gonna have these interesting harmonic things going on, like different like, you know, different chords and different like chord progressions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Balancing the two is, if you can like pull both off, it's always pretty nice too.
Yeah.
I'm usually okay with time signatures. There's one part in a New Invalid song, and it took me like a couple days. It's so left foot is doing rest 2 3 rest 2 3 rest 2 3, and then like there's a quintuplet on the so it's like 5 against 3, but resting like the first. And it until I watched a YouTube video explaining it, and I was like, oh, I get it now. And then but it sucked.
It sucked. I hate it.
Can you send me some of your stuff, Joe? I want to hear this.
Oh, dude, totally. Yeah, I'll send you a video or something.
Cool.
Yeah.
Dude, fucking Joe is insane. You know, and watching you play it live, I was like, what the hell? You and Pete and Brock, and you know, it's just fucking.
It gets nutty. I recently switched to clear heads after 5 years of having the same recording note on every album I worked on. I was coded for such a long time, and the clear heads has been such a game changer because now all the diddles on the toms are coming through so much better.
Oh yeah,
dude. Yeah, it's made such a like literally like I've probably recorded 5 or 6 albums in the past 4 or 5 years, and it's always been like, oh, toms sound like they have enough body, but there's not enough attack or definition. It's because I play fucking coded heads that are super down tuned, but it like
yeah.
I'm shitty at tuning and like gear. I kind of just sit down and play. So
yeah, I got you.
But I mean, part of what you fucking do, which I really admire, is like what you're saying with like the Snooze album, like having the dedication and time to realize you want a different sound for your drums, like knowing how to get it, and like that's meticulous stuff, man.
Dude, it's shitty, man. It's really difficult. A lot. I mean, it sucks because a lot, you know, like sometimes people, like bands will come up to me and be like, we want to do 2 songs in a day. And I'm like, oh, man, that's sick. And I know I'm sure you can do it, but like the result isn't really going to be that great for those 2 songs because we're not really spending anywhere near enough time to like get stuff set up. Which I know sounds super cliche, but it's so important to like at least spend a little bit of time before whatever, and like, you know, because like as drummers we're there to just play, right? So there needs to be some kind of person or some kind of process to get what you're playing ready for that, what it's going to be on, right? And then we just go in there and play it. So I don't know. There's a whole that's just like another can of worms, but.
Yeah, like what you were saying with the Snooze EP, like it's going to be out forever, you know? Get it right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
You're better off being happy with it. There's no real deadlines. Nothing matters right now. Like,
yeah.
Time isn't real.
A lot of people really are looking forward to it though, which is nice.
Yeah, it's it's insane. Like I don't know how this happened, but it's great.
Well, dude, this is actually something I want to talk about because with Familiaris, which was also I put out, right?
Yeah.
And I remember talking to you because I still really didn't know how to. I still don't really know how to operate a DIY vinyl record label, but like at that time, especially, I was like talking to other bands and they were talking about getting publicists and stuff. And I remember for you, I was like, would this be something you're interested in? Because I'd gotten an email from a publicist who like worked with like Torch and like bigger kind of like metal bands, and like they were name dropping like Revolver, like, you know, magazines.
Yeah.
And I remember like being like, dude, would this be something you're interested in? I could like drop a couple $100 on it. And you were like, no, I'd rather just have it grow organically.
Yeah. Cause like, I don't know, like, you know, my sister is good at that shit. Like, you know, she went to school for marketing. She was in a band and she, you know, they were getting like these like shit written about them all the time. And I was like, how do you do that? And it's like, oh, you have to submit it to people. And I was like, that seems fucking weird. But, yeah, it's crazy because everyone, you know, basically everyone that likes our music, like it's cool to me because every band that I've ever liked ever has been because I listened to a song. I was like, this song's awesome. I'm going to add it to my shit or whatever. And like, I feel like when that happens, people like take more ownership of, you know, like their interests and their likes and stuff like that instead of like having somebody else tell them. I don't know. It's not really about that, I guess, but I don't feel, you know, I feel kind of icky just like marketing. Like I work for a digital marketing company and I'm just like, ugh, I don't like any of this. But yeah.
It's tricky because I think it might help sometimes, but is it worth the payoff of like, you know, do you really get enough in return, or like would that have happened if you just waited an extra 6 months, especially for the music we play? Like it's like kind of more DIY level. Like there's bigger bands playing math rock, but for the most part, if your album's on the internet and it's good, like people will tend to find it, you know?
Yeah. That's my philosophy too. It's like, you know, and that's why it's so crazy that people like actually listen to my shit, and it's like, you know, it's awesome because lots of it is just people telling their friends, and that's like the best. And if like somebody messaged me, I'm like, thank you for fucking listening at all. Like it's, you know, it's like really a dream come true. But yeah, it kind of takes some of the fun out of it if like, you know, maybe not, maybe it won't. And maybe I'm just being a fucking stickler or something, but
you're too punk, dude. There's benefits of both, and it's not to knock the other thing. It's just like,
yeah,
because you played like legit, as you were saying, like more legitimate shows, like huge shows. But you're also like a career musician in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it just depends on your goals, really, with it, you know, and what you're trying to achieve. So, if that's what makes you happy with the release, then that's what it is. You know, there's no need to go any further unless you're like mentally prepared to go down that route, right?
You know, I feel very privileged even saying that because like the fact that like, especially like you and like other people that's like, you know, they are completely like, I've been kind of like, you know, this is kind of like my at this point, it's still like a kind of a hobby. Like I love to do it, but like there's basically no sustainability in it. But the thing is, like, if I did fully jump in, I would probably be doing everything possible because it's like you're like life or death almost. Like at that point, like that's your money, and like you have to be able to like live, and like, you know. But for me right now, it's like totally like, oh, this is my art. This is my little thing. So you know, I'm like very like really picky about like I don't even like, you know. I don't know. I'm like very just picky about that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I also don't think social media really makes it any better.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I mean, just getting on social media these days is so exhausting, right? And then let alone it's what I always find it interesting whenever I speak to people who are in some kind of marketing field, because to me, it almost seems like not anyone can do it, but at the same time, depending on what your goals are, it's almost like you're forced to learn it on your own, to some degree, because of how it's changing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And, it, like organic reach, for example. I mean, there's just straight up algorithms working against you for that.
Yeah.
And it's like, how often are you liking other people's posts and all this kind of stuff? And then depending on,
do you keep your fans engaged? Are you making like action? I'm like, fuck all of this, like the second, like I did it for a second on my old like Instagram videos of like myself just playing. Cause I was like, I was taking a bunch of acid. So I was like, I'm just going to do music all the time. This is all I'm going to do. I'm not going to do anything else. So I was like, learning about like, you got a hashtag, you got to have calls to action. You got to have people engaged in the comments. And I'm just like, ugh, it's like fucking disgusting.
I know, man. Well, and that's the thing. It doesn't make it like any social media doesn't help at this point with what their goals are, which is essentially just to monetize and monetize.
Yeah.
New ways to monetize. Right. So for guys like us that are just so proud of this like brainchild we put together, and it's like we want to leave it at that, but at the same time we also wanted to do something, and then it sucks.
Yeah. It's a weird sect, because obviously I do want people to hear this thing that I like worked on and stuff. Like I don't even tell people at my job that I do anything, because I think it's so cringe when people are like, I play guitar.
Yeah.
Like I make lo-fi beats. Yeah. Even though it's not cringe at all. It's like they're just putting themselves out there and being true to themselves. I don't know why. It's like this stupid thing I have that it's just like any sort of self-promotion is bad, but it's not at all. It's just like, I don't know.
There's a fine line. Like, you should be proud of what you do, but I think like social media has also sold everyone on being an entrepreneur. Like everyone's an entrepreneur in some way now, and really they're just making money off us being like, "What's up, everyone? Like, be sure to buy my shit." Like,
Yeah.
So I feel like we're all getting played kind of, but there is a line somewhere where it's really, I guess, how you interact with it and how you use it. But they make it hard to do it the right way. Like they make it hard to do it and not be like this all the time.
Yeah.
Madhu and I were actually talking about this yesterday. It was kind of funny. And we were, Joe, so Madhu's my wife, by the way.
Okay.
So when we were talking about this, we were saying how like, musicians these days on social media, it's almost like we're in competition with really anyone. Oh my God. Hey,
there
kitty.
they are.
Look at Butter.
What up?
Butter.
We were also talking about this yesterday too, Logan. We were just like, you've achieved goals with your cats.
Yeah,
we always see your pictures of them like cuddling and doing nice stuff together, and our cats just hate each other.
Really?
They don't. Yes, really.
They don't. Yeah, they do.
Cats are tricky. My girlfriend got bit. Her cat was sleeping yesterday, and she like went to kiss it on the head, and I guess because she was towering over it, the cat fucking freaked out and bit her neck. Like, those cats look friendly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anup, what were you saying about before cat talk?
Oh, I forget. What was that?
Competition on a.
Oh yeah. So we were saying how like these days it's almost like we're in competition with anyone. Anyone can post whatever video and it can go viral. And we were laughing, and we were just like, how sour her and I were over that happening to someone. But then again, we're also happy because we were like, you were chosen. Like
you were chosen by some divine algorithmic thing.
You will be propped up.
Yeah, you won the lottery. You were chosen. I'm the sour one, but I'm happy for you at the same time, right? So that's social media, man. It's just this fucking roller coaster, and it sucks that. The other thing too is with music. I mean, you push a button in your car, and music just happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not like a feature you have to add or anything when you go buy a car, for example, right? Or when you get a phone, there's an app and you press the app and music starts happening. So music is almost like this afterthought, it's this very like, it's almost like a handout. Everyone just expects it to be there.
Yeah.
Right? Same with really any entertainment. So you combine that with everyone else who's not a musician, who doesn't see things the way we do, the industry the way we do. And that's kind of what we're up against with social media doing what they do. So
it sucks. And like, especially like Spotify being like the very kind of money grubby kind of thing that it's trying to do, like fast track things if you don't want to.
Maybe part two is their business model doesn't even support paying artists more. Like it's just, it literally can't even be a thing, right? But again, I guess there's also a lot of positive resources too that we can take from it, right?
Sure, yeah.
It just depends on what you're trying to achieve with your music, with your release, and what your goals are. So
yeah, I'm sure that if I actually was like set a goal where I'm just like, oh, I want this to, I don't know, like I want to be able to afford an apartment with either like, I would have to probably expand to like, I don't know, Patreon and do live streams and like do all this other stuff. And it's possible, it's a grind, but like, assuming the pandemic didn't happen, like it would just be a lot more music stuff, and it's definitely possible. And at that point, I definitely would not care about, like, I would be like, hey, I need to eat, like I need to promote myself so that I can fucking survive and stuff. So I don't know, but like, yeah, that's why I'm just like, I don't really push that on anybody. Like if anyone is promoting themselves, especially like people I care about, I'm like, fuck yeah, share the shit out of it. But it's like, I don't even follow my own credence. Like I like, like, I don't know.
That's another thing too, man. It's like everyone is just trying to navigate a 2020, like, yeah. So I'm trying to be better about like understanding that, okay, everyone's just trying to figure some shit out right now. So it's tough, to remind yourself of that. But
yeah, I think a lot of getting too wrapped in social media, and then you start comparing what you have like to what someone else has, like what you were saying with like being propped up.
Mm.
But ultimately what matters is that you have like longevity, whatever the word is, like, staying power is more important. And like, so someone who helped me assemble records over the weekend, they used to like work at like Top Shelf Records back in the day, and now they work in marketing. And I was like so interested in everything that they'd say, and I was like, what's like important now for making this thing kind of take off more? And they said, honestly, it's not always about bringing new people in. It's about strengthening like the core of people you have supporting you. And like Logan, what you were saying, like then they show their friends, and then like it's you like if you strengthen that core, it kind of proves to be better in some ways. There's
been so many people that like I've become friends with that were just like, hey, your band is cool. I'm like, fuck yeah. And like I've never even played shows with them, and like like fucking like people have just asked me to do things like feature, do vocals or whatever on their shit, and like that's crazy to me. Like I just hung out with Tyler in Atlanta because probably way back in the day somebody showed him a shitty early Snooze song, and he's like been following us ever since, and like now we're like buds, and like it's just fucking wild. Like,
yeah, I mean that's how we met, right? I remember messaging you and be like, well, because you were going on tour, right? The first time we met was
I think you were the one that brought us, or basically that got us to tour, because I was like, Joe from fucking Invalids. I was like, what is happening? I was like, it's like, okay, yeah, that was basically the entire reason that we toured, because you're like, you want to play out in New Jersey sometime?
Play in a basement of a college house in New Brunswick.
Play in New Brunswick. That was fun though. Yeah,
those are fun shows. Yeah, Floral played too. Like that was an insane lineup.
Yeah. It was an insane lineup, and there wasn't that many people. The second show, there was a shitload of people there in the bike shop. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Good totally. Game, and fucking yeah, it was us, and I think Milkmen played that show too. Or
Milkmen played in New Brunswick. Yeah, they were great too. Yeah, it's just nice to have like a community, foster a community through like the music.
So yeah, that's the thing that I like the most, because like, people will like message me or something and just be super nice and just like, hey, And then I'm just like, thank you so much. And like, from there, it's like, it could be anything. Like they could never talk to me again, not listen, but like lots of the time, if people are just like want to be like friends and hang out or make music and stuff, like I'm just like, fuck yeah. And that's the thing, like, we were talking about how like shitty social media is, but Anup also semi brought up like how it's basically like magic that like this shit can just happen. Like, there's this documentary on Netflix that's like all about like how social media is like evil and stuff, but it is still like magic. It's like you can make a fucking, well, not even just social media, but the internet in general. Like, you can make food appear in your house in 15 minutes. You can see any artist in the world technically, like, through one of these services and whatever. But it's just like the tools that they use to prop people up and like, the algorithms for which to, they almost seem like this black box thing that is just like, oh, anything could be happening to, I don't know, give people an edge or whatever. I don't know. There's
always going to be, it's never ending too. So there's always going to be someone there that's doing something better or that's getting more. It's just, it's endless. So it's hard when you get wrapped up in it. Or were you talking about the social dilemma? That
Yes. Yeah. Like,
that was a trip.
What happened?
That documentary was a total trip. What sucks is that like a lot of that stuff is just things I kind of knew and also assumed, but like see a documentary in like old people who used to work for Facebook, Google, whatever it is, just flat out tell you like, no, this is what it was. We designed it like a slot machine, essentially. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, it'll always be there too. And I had a flip phone until 2014, and then watching it, like I was with a bunch of my friends, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm going back. Fuck it." And then like the next day, I'm like, "Good morning, everyone. Please like this tweet if you're with me." It never ends, dude. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast if you're listening.
Yeah.
Shit.
But I mean, like, people like you and people like Mathcore Index and like, like this network of just real actual people connecting with just like actual people that like the music and stuff like that's the best. You guys are doing it right. It's like that, there's been so many people that have been like introduced to my stuff and like just been nice to me through either you or through Mathcore Index and like other random little things that people are doing just essentially as passion projects and like trying to build community and stuff like that. Like it's the best.
Damn, thank you. Yeah, that's awesome.
Because it's like, if we don't have that, then you do have to adhere to the stupid fucking algorithms. And like, especially right now, because we can't play live, that's basically, that's all there is. All there is DIY, Anup.
It's kind of funny because Joe, when you said something about a basement show just like 5 minutes ago, in my mind I was like, man, that sounds so sick. Like I almost would rather play in a basement than like a big venue and stuff like that. So
it is, because like the thing is about it, like they're all there like only to, well, I mean, some people are there to only get drunk,
that's fine.
Yeah, that's yeah. But
as long as people are like right there and the energy's right there, that's so much better than like a gigantic like lifted stage and
you can't even see anybody. You can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Like just like, looking and it's just like, oh yeah.
Perks of both.
I love.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's a lot sweatier in basements.
I mean, yeah, I'll always have a soft spot for basements. And I'm also too old to be booking basement shows now because I'm like messaging like 20-year-olds like, hey, is your basement available next Friday? It's like I'm 30. What am I doing? So, I think eventually, like, Anup, again, I give you a lot of respect for being like a professional, like working session musician, and like you did those tours and that's awesome. And like, if you do them again, I'm not knocking it. I think it's still very sick. It's all about what your goals are, like you were saying.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
So I do like feeling connected with people though. Like people like just kind of standing over you, like rocking out. So
it's the best when fucking mic stands are getting knocked over by people.
Yeah.
Because that's when I just like, yeah, that's the most, it's the best.
I don't know about you guys. I feel like 2020 has kind of put a lot of perspective as to what I want, not out of music anymore, and just like out of life, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
Just with how like poisonous politics and social media and everything has been, it's like maybe you almost want to stray away from it and just like focus on like an end goal for myself,
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's weird. It's like I don't even come back to music with it. If anything, I just come back to like drumming and like, just playing a backbeat for 2 hours because I can freely do it, and no one cares. I don't have to do a YouTube.
Yeah, like when I see you just like practicing some like rudiments and stuff, I can always tell that you're just like that's your fucking zone.
I want to do that, man. I don't want to like make a video and do this other stuff, record for this. I just don't want to do it. I want to be in the woods, my wife, my cats, and just play doot dat doot doot dat. Yeah, that is my life goal now, officially.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. I mean, it's doable. Respect for that,
Yeah, right?
There's nothing wrong with just blasting some rudiments sometimes, It's kind of freeing. You guys want to listen to one more track off the EP?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Central Park or like something? Well, this will go up Thursday before the album's out, so we can do one more exclusive track.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we can do one of those.
Okay, cool. Here's Central Park track. So the end of Toilet into Central Park did make me tear up a little bit just because it's so pretty. So nice.
I wanted to add a little bit to the end of Toilet or to the beginning of Central Park in order to. I'm so crazy about like, okay, if there's empty space between the two tracks, then I guess them changing keys is fine. But I wanted it to like end with Toilet and then just like Anup, you were I remember I was like trying to do that thing where I was like trying to slow down the track and then go back into the next one, and then I was just like, fuck it,
Yeah.
As you know, Familiaris, I'm like nuts about making each track go into the other one.
That album as a whole is so good, though. It's like an installment, Yeah,
it's like it was a pain in the ass, but
it's great. Did you like deal with loss of a pet like when you wrote it, or was it just?
So initially, I was just literally writing about like a dog because I was like, this is pretty funny, But then, like near the end, like when I was like done with like separation anxiety, like 5th or 6th tracks in there, I'm like, ooh, I think I know what I got to do with the rest of this. And then it all came full circle, and I was like, okay. And then I changed some lyrics to some other stuff, and I was just like, okay, this is about my dog now. Eventually it was just like, okay, this is, and that experience, like comfy, like that's basically what happened to my dog. Like, he's like on the table, he's like fucking having seizures and bullshit. But yeah, it was like personal at that point. But before that, it was just like, oh, I'm going to write a concept album about a dog, or it wasn't even just that. It was just like, let's write songs about dogs because that's kind of funny and fun. But yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. When I learned about that, when that was a thing, it like 100% confirmed in my mind. I was like, "Fuck yeah, I want to work on this next EP." I have such a soft spot for that kind of stuff, so that was sick.
Yeah, it's like, and I wanted it to. It kind of reflects my views on life and death and like the universe too. Is that and I said this at Cameron's memorial too. Is just that like energy is not created or lost in the universe, and people's energy latches onto other people and blah blah blah. You're just joining the rest of your fucking atoms that you were birthed by and stuff. So it's like I wanted it to kind of not be as just torrentially depressing at the end by like adding the last song where it's just like, oh, it's not like he's going to heaven or like, God creature or whatever, but it kind of seems that way because it's like, it's just the universe is fucking, whatever.
Some kind of greater thing.
Yeah, like Adams. Yeah, it was more like just like a messenger that's like saying that like, hey, your atoms are still all there. You're basically the same thing. Yeah, but
Very cool. Listen.
yeah, but yeah, I forgot how we got onto this, but
Transitions between tracks.
oh yeah. So I wanted to do this one into that, but then I ended up giving up, and I was like, yeah, fuck it. And then the side B, so like tracks 4, 5, and 6, like from Feels Bad into Chesapeake, those are all kind of I got my little stickler-esque, like has to be in the same key, same transition and stuff.
I don't mind the pauses between 1 and 2 because it's still like the energy is brought down, and then like
True.
Track 2, it's still here, even though it's not like a seamless chord key change modulate. You know, it's still nice. I think so. All right, yeah, let's give it a spin. Can you guys hear it?
Yeah. I was also listening to a lot of Big Thief when I wrote the song. Hello. I know it's almost lunchtime.
My lions are about to wake me up or come down here asking for food as well.
Yeah, they're like,
Yeah.
Anup, did you master this also?
Did you use my master, Luke?
yeah, I did.
Okay, yeah.
I tried, but nobody was working. But I mean, they sound good. I was initially just gonna try and squeeze like a little like decibel or two, but then listening more and more, I was like, sounds perfectly like you know. I didn't want the sound to change at all anyway. So I was like, you know, because what do? You like when you export them, there's already said there was already some like mastering on it or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I usually mix with the mastering changes so that any changes we do get reflected if you do take it to a professional mastering engineer. But man, mastering is like the dark arts. So,
Yeah,
I use those.
it's very hard to describe it. It actually just came up on a podcast I did with a band called The Most, because their album had come out, and they took it to someone who had done a bunch of cool bands like Palm and stuff, and they were like, we didn't know how to describe master. I still go by the haircut analogy, like mixing is the cut and mastering is how you tease the hair, like style it.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are your guitars tuned to?
This is drop A. It's drop A with the standard West. But there's no songs on this EP that are in drop B, but I'm familiar. It's A and then standard, and then it was occasionally it was just drop D from the top down, and then with a drop A, which wasn't used too much because the phrasing is kind of weird to do like a power chord with a drop D. You have to do like a half power chord.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, this one is all just drop A.
So what are your plans for the band? You're playing with musicians in Chicago now?
Yeah, I've been jamming with some people. Obviously, right now it's crazy, but my plan is just eventually just have a lineup in order to play shows again. That's basically it. Like, you know, I wrote these songs like we said earlier. Like, I was just trying to write them so that it'd be easier for me to sing and stuff. I want to eventually actually play them so that, like, I don't know. But yeah, I'm gonna keep it. I want to eventually have, like, I could like keyboard, but like my guitar parts, I don't like when I was teaching one of the people I've been jamming with some of the guitar parts and like tabs and stuff. Once I actually tabbed it out, they're like, why did you make these chords like this? It's like lots of the time, basically all the power chords I do are just, bar, and then I have like the major third or the minor third with the pinky. Yeah. And that gets really huge, especially down on like
4 to 5 frets.
Yeah. It's literally like 5 frets. So like, and then you have the 5th above. So you have, so it would be like 3, 3, 5, or it would be like 3, 3, 7, 5 would be the chord. And I basically do that all over the neck, and then you would bring the pinky down 1 fret for like a minor. That's like my bass like chord. Anyway, like I'm just afraid that I made all the parts horrible. So, but ideally I would want to have either a keyboard player. I don't want to get another vocalist, and then I want to get 2 guitar players, assuming if I switch to keyboard or whatever, I'm just trying to get some sort of semblance of a lineup. But I got a really good drummer I've been jamming with for live stuff, and yeah, eventually, once the world isn't ending.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully next year. Which I don't even know, but I mean, I'd love to see some of these songs performed live.
Yeah, like that one that we just listened to. That one's really fun. I really want to get a keyboard player, because there's like in that like that part sounds really cool with like the keyboard and stuff, and like there's lots of little parts that I don't want to do like the full backing track thing, because like it's like kind of a pain and like not as fun.
Yeah. Also, like if you're not playing a great venue, it's like a nightmare.
Yeah, literally. Like if like 90% of the venues that I've played in like the past couple of years like would not be able to support that at all.
Yeah. No basements have a DI box for your backing track.
You plug it in with this headphone jack. Okay. That's fine.
Sick. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm really excited for this release. I think a lot of people are gonna really like this album. Thank you for letting me release it on vinyl. Thank you for being a part of the
helping. Thank you for fucking doing it. Like it's like thank you. Like
yeah. I just like sick music, so thank you for making it. And it's nice to have you be a part of the circle of bands too, because I feel like you always help like rep choke artists or like share stuff, and it's nice, so it feels like there's been more momentum in the past couple of months, and I think part of that is because of you, so thank you.
No problem. Of course, like like other people share our stuff, so it's like if I I'm really like weird about that kind of shit, but like if I like the people and I like the music, it's like I'll always fucking share it. And everyone on choke artists that have had stuff like released through here, like fucking like Whelm, and like it's crazy how they're on, like but like yeah, I'll always do it.
Yeah, thanks. Anup, thanks for playing drums on this and mixing it, and thanks for hanging on this pod too.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome. This was such a nice. You guys are so nice. Nice little icing on the cake to the sundae. We're good.
Yeah, you too, man. I needed this. It's good to like talk to some people today instead of just sitting behind a drum pad like all day. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to the pod, everyone, and be sure to check Still by Snooze, coming out on the 27th.
Woo!
Yeah.
Alrighty. All right. Thanks, Joe.